We are live, and I promised you we would go for another walk and talk, and I would bring you up to speed on things that have been happening and answer all your questions. So we're going to start our walking tour here on deck one. We're actually right now at the heart of the ship. This is the grand lobby, and it really is the most stunning part of the ship in terms of the way the stairways sort of sweep into each other and the various balconies and platforms. It was a very carefully designed space. We love just sitting here and enjoying the beautiful architecture. And there's, of course, often either a ghost piano playing on the piano that's behind us. This piano here is unfortunately very rarely played by a human these days. It's more often played by a ghost program that prompts it. Or you have a live string trio down here, so that's really nice. This is also over here is where shore excursions are booked. If you're ever on board and you want to pay, honestly, a rather exorbitant amount of money for a guided shore experience, as they call them now. I guess they're no longer excursions, they're shore experiences. Everything is experiences these days, I guess that's the lingo of the time. So you might notice that the ceilings are rather low down here. On a cruise ship, space is on premium, so people like my stepson, who are 6'7", have issues here. Did we run out of?
No, I've got 3 calls from New Jersey in under a minute.
Okay.
364-13192.
I don't.
Send me out now.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So, we are now en route to Busan. Today was a sea day, and we actually had pretty calm seas despite the weather outside looking rather rough. So we lucked out in that regard. We are, thus far, we are, I guess, 14 days into our 19-day voyage, which means for us it's actually almost over. Sort of sad. For people who embarked on Tuesday, this is their midway point. It's funny how your perspective can change based on that. So this beautiful piece of artwork here, you might not necessarily recognize it as such, but this is marquetry. This is all wood inlay. There's something like 18 kinds of wood in this piece. As I recall, it was quite a few. And it's laser engraved, but each piece is then inserted by hand. So it is quite a work, and it's very impressive. Coming up here to the second deck from the atrium. This is the veranda up here to our left. This is a premium restaurant, so to say. You have to pay a surcharge, and I'm not even certain what the surcharges are currently. I think it's like $25 for lunch and $50 for dinner. We ate there today, so we can actually speak about the veranda from firsthand experience for the first time ever. It was definitely better food than in the main dining room, hands down, which is interesting. It's a steakhouse, basically, and we had sirloin steak, which honestly is, to me, one of the more boring cuts of beef. I like the more interesting things like brisket and shank and anything with fat and connective tissue. Right, so I would say that, sorry, my cameraman was signaling to me. Is it worth the $25 surcharge per person? I'm not certain that I would say that. It wasn't that more magnificent of an experience, but we got to enjoy it in really good company, so that enhanced it pretty significantly. This space is the library. Cunard ships all have libraries, very nice libraries. This one is in an Art Deco fashion. It has lots of beautiful wood. My cameraman has a strange expression on his face.
So I just got a message saying that they can't hear you on the walking tour, but there's nobody watching. You on?
I'm on.
You on?
Interesting. Okay. Well.
On the right thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's curious. That's curious. Okay, well, I guess we'll find out if there's any sound in this. Fortunately, all mics seem to be on our end, so I don't know what that could be about. If you're watching this as a recording, I apologize. Yeah, so here we are in the library. As I was saying, this is a 2-story library. It's a very nice place to come and read during the day or in the evening. It's completely empty, so if you like reading and you like being alone, you can come here and take advantage of this lovely space then. I have to say there are not many or even any libraries like this outside of Cunard. I've never seen them myself. Any other cruise ships I've cruised on had something significantly less nice. And that is alarming. That door is not properly shut, I don't think. No, it's not properly shut. Okay. So these books you can borrow, and basically you can keep them out until the end of the voyage. If you don't turn them in by the end of the voyage, then you get charged for them. There's a lovely selection of fiction, all genres, and also nonfiction, and some very interesting nonfiction books, and they keep the collection up to date. So it's a really nice, actually, added extra or a added value to your fare when you book a cruise with Cunard. Okay, continuing onward. On our journey in general, we've had actually some really fantastic ports where we've had the privilege of experiencing some unexpected and beautiful sights and history that we hadn't really anticipated. Oh, we came up. Well, we're on deck 3 now. We'll continue on deck 3 and we'll go down to deck 2. We fell for the allure of the libraries, the Royal Court Theatre. This is the Clarendon Fine Art Gallery. A lot of cruise ships now have art galleries, and you can buy all of these pieces. They change fairly regularly, and they're different artists, contemporary artists in different styles. They have had in the past, actually occasionally, old masterworks for sale. We were here once and they actually had some Rembrandts and some Vermeers. I mean, not huge ones, small pieces, but still old masters works. Over here to our left is an aerial view of the Queen's Room. This is the central ballroom of the ship. Tonight was the masquerade ball, hence why my face looks a little strange because I've been wearing a mask all night. Mascara smeared a little bit. Gives me a kind of heroin chic look. This floor is actually very new. This is from the last dry dock, I think, because it's different than the floor that was in here 2 years ago. We compared it in the video. And she is a beautiful dance floor. Actually, I think they might have even maybe expanded it a little bit. Either way, it's still not quite big enough because this cruise line is known for its ballroom dancing, so that floor fills up pretty quickly. Over here to our right, we have shopping. And of course, that's a big thing on any cruise line these days. The reality is that cruise fares have not really... Question?
2 people. Oh, that dropped to 0.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, it wasn't 2.
Oh, well.
Oh, now we're back up again.
Welcome, dear viewer. If you can't hear me, please let me know. We should have sound, but technology is not always our friend. You might have to click on view live to actually see the view chats, to view the chat. Yeah. So as I was saying, cruise fares have not really increased at all, adjusted for inflation over the last, say, 20 years. And so cruise lines are trying to get people on board with relatively lower fares, even though it might not feel like it's lower, it is. And then they're hoping that on board, people will spend money by purchasing things from this shop stores, by gambling, by buying drinks, by dining in the surcharge restaurants like the Veranda or the Lido alternative dining upstairs. So, you know, that's kind of the direction cruising has been taking for a while. So here we are entering the Royal Court Theatre, which is 4. The performances here, you don't really have to worry about holding your sneeze. I've got the mic. Sorry, my cameraman was trying not to sneeze, but that's unnecessary. So the Royal Court Theatres on all the Cunard ships put on a variety of shows. Oh, wow, they're rehearsing.
think we're not supposed to be in here.
That's okay. They're actually rehearsing. So back here, and they have basically set this up for another way to earn a little, to try to generate income from guests. If you reserve one of the boxes in the theater, it's $60 for 2 people, I think, and it comes with champagne and I think some kind of hors d'oeuvres. And then you get to sit in this area in advance of the showing, and then you're escorted to your box where you're served your drinks and whatnot. So that's what this beautiful little area is back here. Of course, when the show's not on, anyone, say I, can just come and sit here. So it might be a tip for you if you're here cruising and you want a quiet place during the day. That being said, often they're rehearsing in here, as they kind of are now, actually. Go get a peek. Yeah. And you can see that when I say boxes, I do mean proper theater boxes. So this theater has a very classy theater feel that actually, classical theater feel that most modern opera houses and performance halls don't have. In fact, the last performing arts center at which we attended a showing of Phantom of the Opera felt like an auditorium more than a theater. So this is definitely more my style for interior decor. So moving this way back through deck 3, we'll pass more of the shopping. You know, there's some things we noticed that have changed between, we were last on Queen Elizabeth 2 years ago, almost to the month, and now. And one of them is very unfortunate, is that they've increased the the permittable smoking areas exponentially. So it used to be that smoking was only permitted on deck 12, I think, and in the Churchill Smoking Lounge for cigars only. Well, now they've added half of the deck 3 promenade deck in its entirety is smoking, and half of the deck 10 promenade deck is smoking. So if you want to actually use the promenade deck to get your exercise in by walking around the ship, as most people do, you now have to walk half of it through wafts of stinky cigarette smoke. And that's on both deck 3 and 10. And I don't know what Cunard was thinking about that. That seems like a real step backwards, honestly. Because what it also means is that anyone in the balconies above deck 3, they get to smell smoke in their balconies and also sometimes in their rooms, which would explain maybe why we were able, Yeah. I'm not certain why Cunard thought that was a good idea. I expect probably there might be, I've heard some unhappy comments about that, not just grumpy old me. So here we're coming back through deck 3, coming up on the center of the ship. Here is a port store, and it used to be called a bookstore. I'm not certain they still call it a bookstore, but you know, it's like a tiny little corner of books and mostly candy and stuffed animals and memorabilia. Again, as I said, Cunard needs to.
Can you ask your viewers if they can hear you to give you a thumbs up?
If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up, because
My mother's having lots of difficulties.
Oh, okay. If you can hear, please give me a thumbs up. If you can't, then something's wrong. Can you hear me? Right. So here is what the grand lobby looks like from deck 3.
Now you got 3 viewers.
Welcome, dear viewers. If you can hear me, please let me know, because okay, yeah, is a really beautiful ship. I never get tired of this beautiful warm wood paneling, the real canvas paintings that are everywhere. You might not even realize they're paintings. This is the gin bar, gin and champagne, I think. It's called the Midships Bar, and that's the chart room over there. You know, these are just one of the many sort of lounge spaces with bars where you can come and repose. You don't have to buy a drink to sit in these areas. Of course, they probably appreciate it that if you're in the bar that you actually do buy a drink. They used to serve champagne here, but I think they've moved the champagne. Actually, I know they now serve champagne tea. Is a surcharge experience as well. I think it's $60 per person, if I remember correctly from reading the schedule today. And that's where if you want afternoon tea with the tiers, that's where you can get the actual proper tiers. You can also get afternoon tea here with tiers in the Princess and Queen's Grill. This is the photograph area. It used to be that all of these fold-out cases, they would literally print all the photographs that they took from all the different photograph stations, and then you could go and see them and decide if you wanted to keep them or not. And they would literally just print out hundreds, if not thousands, of these things, and only half of them would sell. But now, if half, well, now it's digital, so they've saved on that. So instead of using those fold-out doors anymore, now you can just, go and enter your cabin number and then check out the photos that they've taken and decide if you actually wanted them. And this is the price list for them currently. So one photo, if you print or USB or print and USB. And if you want all your photos, that's the package. And I cannot say if that's a good value or not, because it's been a very long time since I last actually paid for photographs to be printed. I don't even remember when that last was. Ooh. Restaurant's open. Let's take a peek. So this is the Britannia, and I wish all restaurants looked like this. It's really, your food just somehow tastes better when it's served in this sort of elegant environs, and you can really almost see movie stars floating through here. You can see Clark Gable, you can see Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn. It's a lot of up and enjoying an elegant. Yeah, so this is where you can have breakfast here. On this voyage, it was really weird. They're actually serving it from 7:30 to 9 a.m. And I've been told that was because the Japanese passengers eat earlier. But on this leg of the voyage, there are maybe 100 Japanese passengers, if that. So I wish they would put to what we Westerners expect more. Used to be breakfast in here, and the menu is invariable. It's exactly the same options every day, which I personally wish they would at least add one dish that would change every day. Maybe a quiche, maybe a pancake dish, I don't know. Just something, a little variety would be nice. Then they have lunch, also 11:30 to 1. And that's open seating. You can just come anytime in those hours and you get her. They've gone to a combination model. You can either have set times, early seating, late seating. Early seating because, again, of the Japanese passengers' preferences apparently is 5:30 is opening, and supposedly last call is at 6 p.m. But I'll be honest, our wait staff is just so happy when we show up that even if I sit down at 6:45 just to keep my table companions company, they bring me a menu and offer, to take my order when I'm coming in at that time, though I'm not expecting that. Usually we just like to keep our table companions company, but the problem with the early seating, 5:30 is way too early for us for dinner, generally. And the late seating is, I think, opens at 7:30. And that's really too late in terms of the amount of time it would then take for them to take our order and get us the food and all the different courses, appetizer, soup, salad, main course, dessert. And we really like to be out in time to get to evening dancing, which usually starts at 8:30 or 8:45. So what that means is that if we eat in the dining room, we often end up just choosing the freedom dining section, which is downstairs. So they basically split the dining room into freedom dining downstairs and set seatings upstairs. And that does seem to be working. It was really rough when it first started. We were on the cruise on Queen Victoria when they rolled.
Okay, we're live again.
Okay. It definitely seems the majority of people really want the freedom dining, and I can't blame them.
5:30 is too early.
5:30 is generally too early.
7:30 starts running it.
Yeah, 7:30 runs into the day. In here is the the Britannia Club. Just checking. Sorry, I was hoping to be able to show you all the Britannia Club dining because, Cunard has a four-tier system, four-class system basically in terms of the cabins and the dining that comes with those cabins. So what used to be called fourth class, I guess, if there even was a fourth class, I think third class was generally the last class, but Cunard has managed to add a fourth. Fourth class is on this ship, inside cabins, outside cabins, and regular balconies. And all of those cabins come with dining in the main dining room where we just were. Then we have Britannia Club, and those are balconies, and supposedly they're slightly larger, though I haven't been in one to really confirm that. And the Britannia Club comes with that restaurant that we couldn't get access to, which is its own private restaurant. You have your own table that's yours every night, and you can show up anytime on this voyage, I think between 5:30 and 8:30. You'll be seated, and their menu is supposedly slightly more refined, a higher caliber of cuisine than in the main dining room. Then we have our second class, which is the Princess Grill. And the Princess Grill, those cabins are definitely larger. They're longer in general. And they have a bathtub, a small bathtub, mind you. And they come with the Princess Grill dining, which is another level up in the restaurant game here. Again, higher caliber of food, nicer cutlery, slightly more elegant environs. And then the creme de la creme is the Queen's Grill. And the Queen's Grill, which we did 2 years ago on this vessel, is really the first class experience. And the Queen's Grill cabins come with a butler in addition to your room steward. They come with access to the Queen's Grill, which is basically eat whatever you want. The chef will actually take your requests, and we came up with some of the craziest requests. I mean, my whole table, not just us. One of my companions, if you were on my last live stream, I mentioned this, he actually requested a blooming onion, which is an appetizer from a chain restaurant in America. And he said, "Can you please make me a blooming onion?" The maitre d' said, "Yes, sir, let me go see what it is." He went and looked it up on the computer, and the chef made it for the gentleman, and he had a blooming onion every day thereafter on the voyage. Oh, hello, dear viewers. If you have any questions.
It dropped to 1 as soon as I said that.
Oh, well. Hello, dear viewers. If you're enjoying the live stream, please do hit that thumbs up. If you have any questions, put them in the live chat, and I will answer them. Of course, we still have no idea if there's sound or not.
I can try unplugging the thing and bring it back in.
I mean, you can try
I
that.
have the other mic too.
This one's feeding. Sorry, we're not certain. Actually responded or made a comment. We don't know if we have sound or not. We're just going on faith at this point. So the Queen's Grill is definitely where it's at. Your butler becomes your fixer. You get a higher level of personalized service. The concierge in the Queen's Grill will literally do everything for you. Welcome, dear viewers. If you have any questions, please drop them in the live chat. And if you can't hear me, please let me know as well. This is the Corinthia Lounge, yes. So the Corinthia was one of Cunard's ships, one of Cunard's ocean liners, actually. And I think she was the Corona was the green one, right? And I think the Corinthia might have been. No.
You know.
If you know, let me know in the comments. This lounge is a space that offers also dining that is included in your price. You can have breakfast here where it's fresh from the bakery. You can also have lunch here where it's sandwiches. There's like 2 special sandwiches a day. They also therefore serve premium coffee. So if you are in the premium coffee game and you're a coffee snob, and no judgment, I'm a tea snob, then this is the place you come. Now, those drinks are not included in the fare you pay for those a la carte. There is a hot beverages package, I believe, but I don't know what the price on that is, and I don't know what it actually includes. So if you are a hot beverage connoisseur and you care about the caliber of your hot beverages, you should look into the hot beverages package. And there is also an alcohol package that is extremely expensive. It's $169 a day, and you have to have it for every day of the voyage. You can't just do one day, and both members of your cabin have to have it. Doesn't matter if the other member drinks or not. So for most people who consume a normal amount of alcohol per day, it's probably not worth it, I would say. Okay, let's see, we went to that end.
Card room.
Card room, oh, right. So up here, yeah, we can go up the pretty stairs. I take every opportunity I can to go up the pretty stairs. And also, that is a pro tip for traveling cruising. If you don't want to lose weight, take the stairs everywhere. Yeah, it's late. Look, guys, I slept 4 hours, and it's now almost midnight here. I just danced for 3 hours in a corset. So, yeah, this is the card room. It is currently set up for some kind of cabal meeting, I guess. I don't know. They do other things in here as well. They do presentations, they do meetings. They also do, I think they do a Sunday service here for certain of the denominations. Sometimes they'll have a Catholic Mass or a Jewish Mass. I think they might be doing a Passover Mass up here, actually. Mass is the wrong word. I apologize. Passover service. Again, I apologize. I am a little tired after a long day. So this room, they actually also have games, so you can play games in here. So they actually provide the cards and the games, and you may have seen the tables are actual card tables. So, you know, it's a nice, pleasant space. You can come and play games with strangers. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean, really just play games with strangers. Here is the alcove. This is the puzzle area, and the etiquette on these puzzles is they're public consumption puzzles, but you don't take it apart, right? You just put it together, and when it's finished, then it's finished. But definitely don't, pick the puzzle apart and start over. That's bad puzzle etiquette. So, yeah. Moving back down to the second floor. Going down the stairs. Yeah, please let me know if you can hear me. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Just drop it in the live chat so that we know.
Maybe switch to Esper. Maybe that mic didn't pair.
I mean, the blue light is on.
Yeah, both lights.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah.
Maybe they can't hear you. Maybe they can hear you.
Right, moving on. Let's see, the second half of this voyage has been interesting because we had a complete demographic change. So we're on a 19-day voyage, which was basically broken down into 2 voyages, or originally was 2 voyages, and they combined them into one to try to get more people on board. And the first leg was 9 days, and we actually had 1,200 Japanese passengers, which included 3 ballroom dance schools. And I will say that the Japanese passengers were excellent about dress code. They dressed up during the day, they dressed even more nicely in the evening, they really tried to go with the themes, they observed wearing the right clothes in the main dining room and all of that. So this 7, yay! Welcome, dear viewer. If you're enjoying this, please do remember to hit the thumbs up. And if you can hear me, please let me know. Or if you can't hear me, let me know. So the second half of this voyage we're now on is, there's a much larger contingent, here we'll go this way for now, it's a much larger contingent of Westerners, and there seem to be a lot of families, and there seem to be a lot of people who are not particularly interested in dressing up. And yeah, I saw a lot of jeans and sweatshirts on formal nights, just kind of wandering around. And it, for those of you who care about the dress code and are wondering what's going on with that, it doesn't seem that it's being enforced with any kind of vigor or rigor in the public spaces of the ship. I haven't noticed in the main dining room whether it's being enforced or not. It doesn't seem particularly. So if you cruise with Cunard for the dress code, the news is not particularly good. I'll just say that. In fact, on one voyage a year and a half ago, we just dressed nicely one evening. I was wearing one of my, what I would call mid-level evening gowns. Not very flashy, just a bias cut silk thing. And one woman walked past me and said snarkily, "I would die of shame to be so overdressed." She was in sweatshirts, a sweatshirt and jeans, I should mention. Anyway, I know for some of you, the dress code matters. And actually we sat at tea today with a lovely lady from Tokyo, and I was interested in why she chose Cunard. And she actually said because of the dress code and because of this vintage classic look. So that's right. Peacocks, my favorite. You want me to stay here? Okay.
One, I'm getting tired.
Okay.
It is like well after midnight.
Yeah, it's well after midnight here.
We haven't seen any questions. Lots of viewers. Is there anything they want to know?
Do you have any questions? Are there any particular spaces you would like to see on the ship?
All right, sorry, people.
Sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. Are there any particular spaces you would like to see on the ship? We've done decks 1, 2, and 3 at this point. There's still the Lido buffet, which of course at this time has no food. That's the other thing about food, for those who don't know. Used to be that you could kind of get food in the buffet area 24 hours. That is definitely no longer the case. There are actually hour gaps where there's no food available there. So if you were counting on just being able to go to the buffet and graze at all times, don't count on that. Right now there's continental breakfast from 6 to 7. Then there is breakfast from 7 to 10:30. Then they close it all down. And then there's lunch from 11:30 to 2:30. And then from 2:30 to 4:30 is 2:30 to 4:30. They basically take the leftovers from the lunch buffet and put those out as kind of a late snack buffet. And then there is nothing again.
Tea at the same time.
There's tea. Yeah, they also put out tea in the Lido, so you can get scones and sandwiches and little tea pastries and that sort of thing, and tea if you want on the Lido at that time. And then at 5:30 to 8:30 is when dinner buffet is. So they then take that down and they don't put any more food out again until 10 o'clock. So 10 to midnight is the late night snack buffet, where they basically put out the leftovers from the dinner buffet, plus some cheese and some crackers and some cookies. So those are kind of your main. As it currently stands, that's when buffet food is available up on the Lido. That's deck 9. Room service, though, is available 24 hours, and you'll have a menu in your room for that. Nice thing on the menu is anything that is not included in your fare, i.e. that has a surcharge, it's marked with $signs and a price, so you can
Tip expectations.
tip expectations. Ah, yes, tip expectations. Okay, tipping. God, like dress codes, tipping also always sets Facebook on fire. So tipping is currently the way it works is that there are what are called auto gratuities. So it's auto tipping basically. It's just charged to your account. The current auto gratuities, if you don't take it off, it will automatically come out, are $13.50 a day per person for the regular cabins, and then the grills and the Princess Grill and the Queen's Grill have a higher. I think it's like $17.50 a day, or $15.50 for Princess and $17.50 for Queen's. Don't hold me to that, but I do know they're higher, and they recently upped everything.
And there's
So
a lot of gratuity on the drinks too.
yes. So also on beverages, and any food, beverage, service that you purchase on this ship that is not included in your fare, the gratuity is included. So you don't have to tip extra. 15% is automatically tacked on. It's not included in the price. Don't think that. No. What I mean is that when you buy a drink, they will automatically add 15% to it. So you don't have to, unless you think the service was extraordinary and requires more than a 15% tip, you don't need to tip extra there. Now, the auto gratuities, who gets those? That is the question, isn't it? So apparently those get divided up by your steward, your room steward, and your wait staff team in the dining room. But since they've gone to Liberty Dining, I'm not certain how that works if you're not on a seating but you're downstairs. I'm not certain if they're pulling the gratuities or what. So a lot of people, what they like to do is actually turn off the auto gratuities and tip as they see fit, specifically to the people who have provided the service. I personally just leave the auto gratuities on, because then people whom I might not see doing the thing, for example, your wait staff, you might not realize that the person actually carrying your food out from the kitchen to the main serving area is not the person you see bringing you the food onto your table usually, but they're part of your team. So if you remove the auto gratuities and you only give money to, say, the waiter that you see, then the person who carries the food out doesn't actually get any tip.
You can give extra to wait staff.
Yeah, you can absolutely give, so what a lot of people do, and we do this, we leave the auto gratuities on, and then we give extra to any staff members who go above and beyond. Now, what are expectations is an interesting question. I can't really tell you what the staff might be expecting on top of that, but the current charge, auto charge, for any regular cabin, balcony and lower is $13.50 per person per day. Yeah, good question. And I do know, I think I read also recently that if you're in the grills, that the auto gratuities actually don't go to your butler, that you have to tip your butler separately. And I know when we were in the grills, when we were talking to fellow passengers, they tipped their butler hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a 2-week voyage. They were also significantly more moneyed than we were. Yeah, but that's I think that's probably what a butler kind of comes to expect on this ship. Other questions, just drop them in the live chat, or if you have follow-up questions to that, please do let me know. The ports have been interesting from an immigration perspective, because we have cruised in and out and into Japan, and we'll now be cruising out and into Japan again. And every time we leave Japan, we have to get a stamp in our passport and go through the immigration process. And every time we come into Japan, we have to get a stamp and go through the immigration process. That being said, Japan has been super efficient. That's really impacted us. We barely noticed it. Leaving embarkation day, it was a little fussy because we had to go through immigration and then through security, and that kind of backed up a little bit. But the other times, coming back in and going out, it was super efficient. So kudos to Japanese immigration authorities for setting up a primo operation. And I mean setting up, they literally set up immigration facilities in the Queen's room so that you could have your passport stamped. And we were coming back in so that, you could get your passport stamped coming in before leaving the ship to go ashore. And if you're in Japan, you will need to carry your passport with you. If you're in Taiwan, you'll be given a copy of your passport to carry with you, and you are expected to carry it. We are heading to Korea tomorrow, and I saw on our bed that there are customs forms, and passenger arrival card that we have to fill out, just like you were flying, as though you were flying in to the airport. So you will, basically every time you go in and out of a country, at least here in Taiwan, Korea, and Japan, you have to go through an immigration process. Thus far, though, that's been perfectly smooth and fine. The Japanese ports have been very friendly and trans to help you buy your tickets. And activities like hands-on cultural experiences that are complimentary, that for which you don't have to pay. Providing shuttles, shuttle buses from where the cruise docks to the actual place you want to go visit, that also then has like tourist videos with information on the way. Yeah, it's been a very positive experience in Keelung and here in all the Japanese ports. Everyone's been super friendly. And I have to say that in the last 6 years since I was last in Japan, it's become a much more user-friendly country for non-Japanese speakers. Because when I came into Osaka in 2018, I almost got on the wrong train because there was no sign anywhere in any of the 8 languages that I can basically read.
How are you able to converse with Japanese, Korean, and Chinese?
Yeah, so for the most part, we have either been able, most of the Japanese, the Japanese people we have met on shore have generally spoken English and pretty good English. Some of the Japanese passengers have spoken English and others have not. And then we have sometimes used Google Translate.
They asked, are there Japanese, Korean, or Korean classes on the show?
Yeah, there was that is true. There were actually, so the question was, are there Japanese, Korean, or Chinese classes?
Japanese or Korean.
Japanese or Korean. They haven't actually been offering Japanese or Korean classes. They did offer English classes for the Japanese passengers on the last cruise, I guess survival English, I think it was. Because the population of that cadre of Japanese cruisers was relatively senior statesmen, and they've come from a generation where they wouldn't have had a chance to really become fluent in English. So I think they were offering them survival English. And I think it would be a really great idea to offer survival Korean or survival Japanese, but they didn't really. You do get the port guides that we got basically provided by tourism in each of the ports usually has some survival Japanese on it, like arigato for thank you, konnichiwa for hello, and then some other more complex, slightly more complex expressions like I would like to buy this, how do I get to this place? But that was provided by tourism in each individual city, so not by Cunard. If you're actually interested in learning, some survival Korean or survival Japanese for your voyage, I can highly recommend Rosetta Stone. Duolingo might be okay. I haven't actually tried that from the ground up, so I can't tell you how effective that is. But Rosetta Stone offers actually a lifetime subscription for like $150 for all languages. So, that can be, and then that's an app you can put on your phone. So that might be, if you really want survival Japanese or survival Korean or survival Mandarin or survival, there's actually a native and indigenous Taiwanese language also. Rosetta Stone could be an option.
Lessons in polite culture. I'm assuming in the various cultures.
Oh, right. So if you are talking about, was that a question? Okay, lessons in polite culture. In other words, polite interactions between the cultures. The ship has not really provided that either. Asians, depending on where you are in Asia, it's a much more formal society. Japanese society is extremely polite, and it's a bowing culture. So you don't shake hands or hug. As generally, it's you bow, and the more senior of the parties bows less deeply. The more junior of the interlocutors bows more deeply. That's something that springs back from Neo-Confucianism or Confucianism/Neo-Confucianism. But I'll be honest that there has been a lot of what I would say cultural understanding in all the ports we've been in. that, you know, the Japanese understand that we Westerners have different customs and different practices, and so they have not been offended. I have not noticed any offense anyway when the cruise ship passengers are coming through and maybe don't do exactly the right thing. There's no expectation of that. That's kind of that's a lot of cultures that have historically have that attitude towards barbarians, as the Greeks called them, not literally. That's what they called foreigners because their languages sounded like bar, 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 bar. So there was always an expectation that foreigners will not know what to do and that there should be no offense when they don't do the right thing. Now, obviously, it's very easy to read up on, how to have proper polite interactions and all of these, but with the Taiwanese, with the Koreans, with the Japanese.
You can probably get the book in the library even.
Yeah, probably there might even be a book in the library here. So speaking of information in the library that's useful for your ports, they do have, Lonely Planet's Guide to, or Fodor's Travel Guide, or Rick Steves' Guide to, although Rick Steves doesn't really do Asia as far as I know, or he didn't use. So you can check those books, or you can reference those books in the library. However, travel guides in the library that are relevant to ports on the voyage, you cannot check those out. Those are reference materials only in the library. But you are welcome to the library, take your device of choice, and take pictures of the relevant pages for the ports you're going to. And of course, travel guides are really good about guidebooks are good about providing information about courtesies and customs that can help smooth your path into Japan. Yeah.
You can talk about the next thing because you've done it. Buying a country's clothing.
Buying a country's clothing, yes. So Asians are very honored when foreigners wear their clothing in a respectful, polite, serious fashion. So obviously they'd probably be less impressed if, you wore it to go, pubbing and get seriously plastered and behave badly. That being said, in Korea, for instance, hanbok, the traditional Korean clothing that many of you have seen me wear, they make hanbok for their dogs. So, and they dress their dogs in costumes, right? So I've been told by my Korean friends and by my Japanese friends, and my Taiwanese friends and my Chinese friends and my Hong Kong friends that they don't really think cultural misappropriation, it's not something that bothers them. They really enjoy it when foreigners wear their traditional clothing because they feel like it shows that their culture is important beyond the scope of their own boundaries. So for example, at this last port, I bought a gorgeous vintage silk kimono that was hand sewn. It's probably 50, 60 years old. It has hand embroidery on it. And there was a stall at the port where a local woman was selling used kimono. And she was very happy for me to buy it and for me to wear it. And
she forgot to sell you an obi.
She forgot to sell me an obi though, so now I have to get the rest. I have to get the rest, and I have to get the under thing and the pants. Anyway, there's more layers that I have to go for my kimono ensemble to be complete. And for my Korean clothing, God knows Koreans get so excited when I wear traditional Korean clothing. In fact, I wore hanbok in Japan, and let me tell you, the Japanese were super excited too, everywhere we went. So we ran into some Koreans in Taiwan, actually, who were super excited. So I can absolutely recommend buying traditional clothes in the respective ports and adding them to your daily wardrobe or to your special occasion wardrobe. Just, treat the clothing with respect is probably my recommendation. But don't get bound up in Western ideas of cultural misappropriation because as my Asian friends tell me, they can defend their own culture. Thank you very much. Like literally, that's what they said when I asked them about the topic. Other questions that might set the internet on fire?
They wrote down some common phrases, saying, I'm sorry, I don't speak your language, where are the bathrooms? Yes, those are all good to learn, I guess.
Yeah, so
Sure, there's not a question.
I mean, so yeah, common phrases are good to learn. Have I had any need of those phrases in any of the ports? No.
Because they're all signs.
Yeah, so
Even in Japan, things
I mean,
English this time.
yeah, so there were a lot of the signs for important, like life-sustaining activities, all seem to be in, at least 2 languages, sometimes 3 languages, English being one of them. And the majority of the population in the places you will visit on a cruise also speak English, or at least enough English to communicate basic ideas like that. Of course, I do recommend learning questions like, where is the bathroom? Hello, how are you? I always recommend learning just the basic polite expressions like thank you, you're welcome. If the language has a concept for you're welcome, not all do and not all actually say it, even if they have the concept. And, a good expression to learn actually is that's very beautiful. Or that's because in Asia, beauty is very important. And I know it might seem to some people that might, beauty is actually a key part of human condition and psychology. So, learning to say that's beautiful in order to compliment either something at a store or something someone's wearing in Korean and Japanese and or Mandarin or Taiwanese, depending on where your voyage is going, could really, sort of bump you up and just create a little more goodwill, intercultural, international goodwill. Yeah. Okay. Okay, are there any more questions, anyone? No? Okay. Oh, no one's left? Okay. Okay, well, Erin, thank you for joining me on this live Q&A. I'm sorry it wasn't, I meant to have a list of things and the day got away from me. People kept chatting me up all day, which is great. I love socializing, but today was supposed to be a work day for me and it didn't turn into very much of a work day as it should have. So if you've been watching, thank you very much. If you're watching this recording and you've made it this far, then hopefully it's because you like the video. So please do leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Otherwise, we are in Busan tomorrow and I'll be posting all sorts of vlogs and things over the next several days and weeks. So keep your eye on this space for more of my travel adventures. Until next time, everyone, may your travels be creative and unplanned. Good night, everyone.